Two people, same job, same city, same salary for 30 years. One retires at 62 with complete financial freedom. No debt, no panic, no compromise. The other retires at 67 with barely enough to cover groceries and a quiet monthly anxiety about whether the money will run out before they do. Same income, same starting point, completely different endings. The difference was not luck. It was not inheritance. It was no T intelligence. It was something far quieter and far more powerful than most people ever think to look for. It was the systems they built, or didn't. This video is not about traditional retirement planning, investment accounts, or choosing the right funds. You can find that advice anywhere. This is about something deeper. Why some people enter retirement with confidence and peace, while others arrive overwhelmed by fear. The difference isn't always income, intelligence, or motivation. Successful retirees often operate with invisible systems that make good financial decisions almost automatic and bad decisions harder to repeat. Most people manage money reactively, responding to problems as they appear. Successful retirees manage it systematically, creating structure before problems arise. Today, we'll break down 8 powerful systems that can quietly transform retirement from financial stress into genuine freedom. The 8 systems. System 1. The automated savings floor. The most foundational system successful retirees build is non-negotiable automated saving. Not a savings goal, not a savings intention. A savings floor is a fixed percentage of every dollar earned that never enters their day-to-day financial world at all. It is transferred automatically, immediately, and invisibly the moment a paycheck arrives. This works for a reason most financial content glosses over. When money never appears in your checking account, you do not experience it as money you are giving up. You adjust your lifestyle to what remains. Think about what happens when someone gets a raise. Within a few months, almost everyone adjusts their spending upward to match the new income. This is lifestyle inflation. But the same psychological mechanism that drives lifestyle, inflation, can work in reverse. When savings are removed before you ever see them, you naturally calibrate your lifestyle to what is left. You do not feel the sacrifice. The system does the work. 2 people earn the same monthly income. One manually saves whatever is left at month's end. Most months, nothing is left. The other automatically sweeps 20% into a separate account before they ever see it. After 10 years, the gap between them is not a small shortfall. It is a transformed financial life. The first person feels like they never have enough. The second has quietly built something real without fighting a daily willpower battle. The principle is structural, not motivational. Do not save what is left. Remove it first. Make the floor automatic. Make it non-negotiable. Then forget about it. System 2. The spending identity. Anchor. Successful retirees have an internalized financial identity that is different from the general population. They do not feel deprived when they decline an unnecessary purchase. They feel like people who own their financial decisions rather than being owned by them. This identity functions as a behavioral anchor in moments of social and commercial pressure. Most people make financial decisions based on external feedback. They buy things to signal success, to fit in, to keep pace with a certain standard of living. Their spending is reactive to social context. Successful retirees have an internal reference point. They have defined what enough means to them. Not in a limiting way, but in a clarifying one. In a real moment, this looks like this. A group of colleagues heads to an expensive restaurant after work. Most people feel the social pull and go along, spending more than they intended. Someone with a spending identity anchor feels the same pull, but also has an internal voice that says, "This does not reflect my priorities right now." And they make that choice without guilt or needing validation. That anchor, built and reinforced over years, prevents thousands of small financial leaks that most people never track. The rule: define your financial identity before you define your budget. When spending decisions are filtered through a clear sense of who you are financially, the math almost takes care of itself. System 3. The friction architecture. Successful retirees understand a behavioral truth. Accessibility equals spending. The more frictionless it is to access money, the more of it gets spent, not through deliberate choice, but through unconscious ease. So they design their financial structure to create deliberate friction around money they do not want to spend impulsively. This means keeping savings in accounts that are slightly inconvenient to access. Not impossible, just not instant. If your emergency fund is in the same bank as your checking account and transferable in 30 seconds, it is not an emergency fund. It is a temptation. People drain emergency funds for non-emergencies constantly, not because they lack discipline, but because the friction of access is too low. Move that money to a separate institution. Make the transfer take a day or two. That small friction prevents a significant number of impulse decisions. The principle is architectural. Make it easy to do the right thing and harder to do the wrong thing, not through rules requiring ongoing enforcement, but through structure that makes good behavior the path of least resistance. System 4, the lifestyle benchmark, freeze. One of the most powerful and least discussed behaviors of successful retirees is that they deliberately froze their lifestyle benchmark at a certain point in their income growth. As income increased, they did not automatically increase spending proportionally. They captured the gap, and that gap became the engine of their wealth. This is deeply counterintuitive in a culture that treats income growth as permission to spend more. But every time their income grew by 10%, they might have let their lifestyle grow by 3 or 4% and directed the rest toward their future. Over a 30-year career, this single behavior compounds into an almost incomprehensible difference. Two professionals both receive a $15,000 annual raise after a promotion. One adjusts their lifestyle fully within 6 months, a nicer apartment, a newer car, more frequent dining out. The other keeps most of their existing lifestyle and directs $12,000 of those extra dollars annually into investments. Over 20 years, that decision does not produce a small advantage. It produces a completely different financial life. The lifestyle benchmark freeze is not deprivation. It is understanding that every dollar of lifestyle inflation today is a dollar of future freedom surrendered. System 5, the permanent emergency buffer. Successful retirees treat their emergency fund not as a temporary financial tool, but as a permanent, non-negotiable component of their system. Most people think of an emergency fund as something you build, use when things go wrong, and then rebuild, a financial revolving door. Successful retirees treat theirs as inviolable. It is a fixed floor, always maintained, always replenished if touched, and mentally categorized as money that simply does not exist for any non-emergency purpose. The psychological function of this goes beyond obvious financial protection. There's a documented phenomenon called financial anxiety spillover. When people lack a buffer, low-level financial anxiety infiltrates every other area of their decision-making. They make worse career decisions because they cannot afford to take risks. They stay in bad situations, jobs, relationships, living arrangements, because they have no financial runway. They take on high-interest debt during emergencies because they have no alternative. The permanent emergency buffer is not just a financial safety net. It is a psychological infrastructure that enables better decision-making across the entire spectrum of life. 3 to 6 months of living expenses. Separate institution. Liquid, stable, permanent, and mentally untouchable. System 6. The debt boundary. Successful retirees have a deeply ingrained, non-negotiable relationship with debt that separates them clearly from the general population. They draw a sharp line between debt that builds something, a reasonable mortgage, a calculated business investment, and debt that costs them without building anything, which is consumer debt, credit card balances, auto loans on depreciating vehicles, and personal loans for goods or experiences. This is not a simplistic, all debt is bad position. It is a nuanced, intelligent relationship with leverage. The key question they operate by is this: does this debt put me in control of a productive asset, or does it reduce my future options to fund something I want today? Consumer debt almost always reduces future options. In practical terms, this system means they never carry credit card balances. They pay cards fully every month. If they cannot pay for something this month, they wait until they can. This one behavior eliminates what is effectively a 20 to 25% annual tax on spending. A tax most people pay for years without ever fully calculating what it costs them in total. System 7, the monthly review ritual. Successful retirees have a consistent, structured relationship with their financial information. Not obsessive, not daily, but rhythmic. They set aside specific time, monthly or quarterly, to review where their money is, whether their systems are working, and whether anything needs adjustment. This ritual is not driven by anxiety. It is a calm, honest accounting of reality. Most people avoid looking at their finances directly when things are not going well. This avoidance is deeply human. Nobody enjoys uncomfortable numbers, but avoidance is extraordinarily expensive. Small problems noticed early are manageable. Small problems ignored for 6 months become structural ones. A gradual increase in monthly spending that goes unnoticed for a year can silently erase a year's worth of savings progress. Subscription services run for year S after their purpose ended. These individual leaks are small. Collectively, over time, they are catastrophic. The review ritual does not need to be sophisticated. 30 minutes once a month with a clear view of income, spending, saving, as progress and investments. 3 honest questions. Is my savings floor intact? Is my spending aligned with my priorities? Is there anything here that should not be here? That simple ritual, sustained over decades, catches problems early and keeps the entire system honest. System 8, the identity-based investment habit. The eighth system is the most psychologically sophisticated and the one most people completely miss. Successful retirees do not invest when the market looks good and pause when it looks bad. They invest consistently because they have internalized investing as a core part of who they are financially. Not a strategy they apply selectively, but a behavior that defines them regardless of market conditions. Most people treat investing as an active decision made each time, and this is where they lose enormous ground. When investing is a repeated decision, it is subject to emotional interference every single time. The market drops 15%, and the question becomes, should I keep going? The emotional answer, driven by fear, is often to wait. But the mathematical reality is that market downturns are among the best times to invest. Every dollar invested when prices are low captures more units of future wealth. The people who paused investing during the 2008 financial crisis and the 2020 market crash did not protect themselves. They missed the most powerful buying opportunities of 2 decades. The system that solves this is dollar cost averaging with behavioral permanence. Invest a fixed amount, automatically, every month, regardless of what markets are doing. Remove the decision entirely, and then internalize the belief that you are an investo, not someone who invests when it feels right, but someone who invests, because that is simply what you do. Section 7, Numbers and Reality. Check. Now let us talk about what these systems actually produce, because the figures are not inspirational. They are sobering. Someone who begins automated investing of $500 per month at age 25, growing at 7% annually, a conservative estimate for a diversified index fund portfolio, will have approximately $1.3 million by age 65. Not because $500 a month is a large amount, but because compounding over 40 years is mathematically extraordinary. The same person who delays starting by just 10 years, beginning at 35 instead of 25, ends with approximately $650,000 at 65. Same $500 per month. Same 7% return. The 10-year delay cost them $650,000, not through any single dramatic mistake, through the invisible weight of time not allowed to compound. Now add the lifestyle benchmark freeze. If that same person also captures the gap between income growth and lifestyle inflation, directing an additional $250 monthly into investments as their career advances, the final balance climbs toward $2.5 to $3 million. The difference between a comfortable retirement and a genuinely free one is often not dramatically higher income. It is these behavioral systems running quietly in the background for decades. From the debt side, a household paying $500 a month toward credit card debt at 20% interest is not just losing $500 monthly. They are losing the future compound value of that $500 every single month. If that amount had been invested instead, the opportunity cost over 20 years is not a modest shortfall. It is several $100,000 in lost future wealth. Consumer debt is not a monthly bill. It is a slow financial suffocation, made tolerable only because most people never calculate its true accumulated cost. Section 8. Contrast 2 people. Same starting point, different systems. Person A is reactive. They spend based on how they feel each month. They intend to save more once income is higher. They invest occasionally when confidence is high. They carry manageable credit card debt. Their emergency fund has been borrowed from multiple times. Every income increase becomes a lifestyle increase. Person B installs systems in their late 20s. 20% of every paycheck is automated before it touches their checking. Balance. Consumer debt is eliminated in their early 30s and never returned to. Income increases are mostly redirected toward the future. Finances are reviewed monthly. Investments run automatically without exception. At 45, these 2 people look similar from the outside. Person B might drive an older car, their home might be modest, but their financial position is completely unrecognizable compared to person A's, a growing investment portfolio, 0 consumer debt, and genuine options in life. At 62, person B is free. Not wealthy by magazine standards, but free. Able to stop working if they choose. Able to face unexpected costs without crisis. Able to live without the low-grade financial anxiety that has followed person A for 30 years. Person A is working longer than planned, running retirement math for the first time, and quietly grieving options that compound time can no longer restore. The difference was not income. It was 8 systems, applied consistently over 3 decades. Section 9. Future Projection. Think honestly about where you are right now financially, not where you intend to be, where you actually are. Think about your savings rate. Is it automated, or does it depend on what is left at month's end? Think about your consumer debt. Think about when you last reviewed your finances without emotional avoidance. Think about whether your lifestyle has grown proportionally with your income, or whether you have captured any of that growth for your future. Now project that forward honestly. If nothing changes, If you continue within your current financial system or lack of one, where does that trajectory actually lead? Not worst case, realistic. If your savings rate is 2 or 3%, your lifestyle keeps pace with income, and you invest only when markets feel comfortable. What does 65 actually look like? The math is not cruel, it is just honest. And for most people, an honest projection of their current trajectory leads to a retirement requiring compromise, anxiety, and the quiet grief of options no longer available. Now imagine a different projection. Not an overnight transformation, just a different system. This week, you set up an automated transfer equal to 15 or 20% of your income into a separate investment account. It leaves the day your paycheck arrives before any decision is made. You stop carrying consumer debt and redirect that monthly payment toward assets instead of interest. You review your finances once a month for 30 minutes. You make one decision to hold your lifestyle benchmark steady for the next 12 months, regardless of income changes. Project that forward 30 years. You have not become a different person. You have not worked harder or sacrificed more dramatically. You have simply installed different systems, and the future at the end of that projection is unrecognizable from the original one. It is quieter, lighter, free in ways that most people spend their entire adult lives chasing and never reaching, not because they are less capable, but because they were managing money reactively in a world that rewards systematic behavior. That choice between these two futures is not made at 60. It is made now. Every month that passes with the old reactive system in place is a month. The compound clock does not tick in your favor. Every month, a new system runs quietly in the background. Each month, something real and permanent is being built. Retirement freedom is not simply a math problem. It is a behavioral one. The people who achieve it build systems that reduce the need for willpower, automated saving, controlled spending, emergency reserves, debt boundaries, regular reviews, and consistent investing. These systems are not glamorous, but they quietly create lasting wealth. The biggest mistake is believing that understanding these ideas is enough. Clarity without action fades quickly. You do not need to change everything today. Choose one system, install it, automate it, and make it permanent. Wealth is not an event. It is a structure built quietly over time. And the people who retire free started building theirs long before they felt ready.